Good afternoon, fellow fantasy baseball fans. Happy Thursday. Welcome to MFSN, the hub, and our weekly waiver wire for fantasy baseball show. I am your host, Kasey Scheinfeld. Dr. Dan will be back with us starting next week. He's getting some much needed R&R, but as always, I can always count on my boy, Ross the Boss.
Hey everybody, I'm Ross the Boss. I want to talk Major League Baseball waiver wire with you, cowboy. I'm so excited about baseball. I don't know if you watched the West Coast case because I know you're in the East Coast, but Ohtani had 8 RBIs, 2 home runs on Tuesday. Then he took the mound on Wednesday, had like 12 or 14, I think 14 strikeouts or 12 strikeouts?
13.
13 strikeouts. I was close. 13
yeah.
strikeouts in 8 innings, gave up no runs on Wednesday. And then Thursday, he got up and brushed his teeth and combed his hair. It's unbelievable.
He can do it all. I know.
Everything.
He even probably ate a meal or two in there. Yeah, I did see that. The most upsetting part about that was Shohei Ohtani had 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and they lost.
It's the first time a player they just didn't lose. They were never winning at all during the game.
I think they tied it a couple times,
but they never were winning. It's the first time that's ever happened in baseball history.
That's just insane.
Had 8 RBIs in one game, and they never took the lead ever in the game. It's unbelievable.
But that guy's as good as it gets. Like he is just fun to watch.
He has
fantasy
45
gold.
RBIs. Right now he has 45 RBIs. We're not even halfway through the season. I mean, he'll have 110, 120 RBIs this year alone. And let's say he has 40, 35 RBI home runs. I mean,
I feel, my name is Vlad to the Bone, as you refer to me all the time, because I'm a huge Vladimir Guerrero Jr. fan. And there are some other really kind of studly fantasy or studly Major League Baseball players in the American League. But how could you ever be considered an MVP, most valuable player, when you're compared to a guy who's an ace on the mound and a 4,100 RBI machine in the field? Like, that's got to be more valuable than any other single player in baseball his entire career.
Hold on. Whoa. If I was voting for MVP right now in the American League, your boy Aaron Judge would be
I love Aaron Judge.
I mean, Aaron Judge is going to get over 60 home runs, over 100 RBIs, and he's carrying that New York team to victory a lot. Best record in Major League Baseball. Look, I don't have to tell you this. You're a huge Yankee fan.
I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee homer. Obviously, Aaron Judge is my favorite player in baseball. But I wouldn't have him as my MVP choice right now. Really? And I'm not even saying it would be Shohei Ohtani. I think it's Jose Ramirez. With what the Guardians are doing, you take him off that team, they're 10 games out, 12 games out.
The Guardians, you know what their payroll is? And they have the 28th highest payroll in baseball, $68 million payroll for the Guardians. They're in first place in their division.
Yeah, I mean,
bravo to that manager. Bravo to that team. Bravo to everything they stand for. They had to deal with their name change. They had to deal with a lot of other nonsense during the offseason. But you know what? They're in first place right now in a tough division. I mean, Minnesota's good. I mean, White Sox supposed to win it all. I mean, they're in a really good division. And for them to even be in first place, and it's late June, is a great story. And
absolutely. I mean, the Yankees have the best record in baseball, and Aaron Judge is the best player on the Yankees. But when you have a starting staff that has like number 1 in ERA, top 3 in WHIP and strikeouts, like they could still be a first place team if Aaron Judge got hurt. You take away, and for me to define MVP, it has to be you take away and you lose the most value. And Jose Ramirez, you take him off that team, and they are a 10 games below 500 team right now. And right now they're in first place.
Okay, who votes for MVP? It's the writers, correct?
Yes.
So the Yankees playing a big market. Cleveland, unfortunately, is not a big market. And Aaron Judge gets headlines every time it's a home run. It's like,
I know.
It's the second coming.
And on top of that, you have the narrative that it's his contract year and that he turned him down and how much he's going to get paid and where is he going to go. He's the most valuable. He might be the most marketable player or valuable marketing player in baseball right now because of how his story just carries that much. We have our first comment. Just Bob, welcome back. He wants us to talk about Austin Hayes. Last night, he hit for the cycle in just 6 innings. And he mentioned that the night before he wore the golden sombrero with 4 strikeouts. So that's a pretty good change. And I like what the Orioles are doing. I mean, I think obviously they're a couple of years away.
When we get to our waiver wire, one of my waiver wire top 4 picks is the Orioles. So yes, I like Baltimore also.
And I think within a few years, once Grayson Rodriguez is up and Adley Rutschman is developed, you got Mountcastle, you have Hayes, you have, I don't know if Mancini's going to be there. I think Mullins is the real deal, even though he's struggling in the batting average. They're an exciting team. It's just they unfortunately are stuck in the AL East with the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Rays, and the Blue Jays, who are also very good and some of which have much deeper pockets. All right, so to get to the point of the show, we are going to give you some names that you can pick up this week that will help you compete in fantasy baseball going forward. Just to review the rules, we look at players in Yahoo who are owned in 60% or less of Yahoo leagues. We're going to go with our top 3 or 4 players to start, and then we're going to go through the positions and give you a few names. As always, if you think we're right or wrong, call us out in the chat. We would love to respond to that stuff. If you have any questions, Just Bob knows this well. Let us know what your question is, and we'll do the best to answer. So I'll start with you. Who are your top 4 this week, Ross?
My top 4 picks, I try not to repeat myself from last week, which I've been doing a lot. I don't repeat, which I take great pleasure in not repeating names because it gets boring. So I'm not going to give you preambles or anything. I'm just going to say the names, maybe say the team they're on, and give you maybe a little bit. Isaac Paredes of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. He
had a home run in 4 straight at bats, I think.
I know. I was just going to say, and he's available in 97% of the leagues. It's unbelievable. Jorge Alfaro, he plays catcher and outfield for your San Diego Padres. Tyler Wells is a pitcher for Baltimore. I'll talk about this kid when we talk about starting pitchers. He gets no press. No one knows who this guy is. But if you look at his starts and his ERA and everything, he's unbelievable. You got to pick him. And then Joshua Lowe, another Tampa Bay player. You're saying, Ross, a lot of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is known for young stud players to bring them up, develop them, and then they sign with another team. That's what Tampa Bay does. Joshua Lowe is somebody that Margot went down. He's out for a while. He hurt his knee. They brought up Lowe, who actually was the reason they traded Meadows during the offseason. Because Lowe was such a stud. He started off really poorly in April. Then you put him back at AAA. He's hitting the ball like crazy in AAA. Now he's back. So Joshua Lowe is another guy I think you should pick up. He's my top 4 guy. What's your top 4?
I like them. And Jorge Alfaro was certainly near the top of my list just because of the position he plays, having a catcher who's playing that well. I'm our cover boy, and the guy I talked about in my short this week, Ahmed Rosario, for those Cleveland Guardians. He qualifies at shortstop. And he qualifies in the outfield as well. He runs, he hits for average, and he runs, and he's got some pop. He's at the top of that lineup. Jose Ramirez seems to be knocking him in every night, every time he gets on base. I like him. I'm going to go with a veteran because he's healthy. You know, with this guy, you pick him up, you got to make sure that he stays healthy. But AJ Pollock in Chicago has always produced when he's healthy, and he's producing right now, scoring and knocking in runs. That's great. I'm going to go with my young guy is Alec Thomas of the Arizona Diamondbacks, outfielder there. Again, he's batting .350 in the past couple of weeks, has stolen 3 bases, scored 10 runs so far in those 2 weeks. He's a guy who can be I'll say 4.5 category contributor. He's not really a power guy, but if he can knock out 15 to 20 home runs in a season and score and steal 25 to 30 bags, that's fantasy gold right there. And then my last is going to be another veteran pitcher who's very, very happy to be out of Colorado, and that's John Gray in Texas. The last 2 weeks, he's got a 1.45 ERA over 18 innings, a couple wins, a .86 whip, and 21 strikeouts. So he's averaging more than a strikeout an inning. And this is a guy who was a huge name coming out of the minors going to the pros, but unfortunately he was drafted by the Rockies. And I don't know when they've had, Danny Nagel back in the early 2000s might be the last, or Mike Hampton, the last viable pitcher that they've had. Herman Marquez pitched okay when he's away from Coors Field, but in general, it's not a place you want to be a pitcher. Now he's in Texas. It's a hitter's park, but not like Colorado, and he's pitching a lot better.
Good job. I agree with everything you just said, Casey Scheinfeld. Is it time for catchers?
All right. So, yes, it's time for catchers. And what I did today is I did it last week, too. I'm going to try to give you a prospect name as well. I might have to repeat some because there's only so many prospects that are near the level of of being promoted and contributing, but I'm going to give you one, maybe two names of players in the league, and then I'm going to try to give you a prospect who I think you should look out for. So let's start. You want to start at catcher or first base? You pick.
We'll start at catcher. I mentioned earlier Jorge Alfaro. The reason I'm so high on him, he plays catcher, which is a tough position to start. In the past 2 weeks, he's hitting .393, 3 home runs, but also for the season, he's hitting .289 with 6 home runs. This guy's the real deal. I mean, I would love to say he's a streaker. I would pick him up for the rest of the season. I think he's going to be playing a lot for San Diego. I know it's not a hitter's ballpark. I get it. But this guy is hitting, and anywhere he goes, he hits.
And he has a lot of walk-offs. I think I heard he has 5 already in his career. So he comes up clutch.
So, I mean, if you need a catcher, which you probably do and you're watching us, pick him up. He's available, I think, in over 70% of the leagues right now. Probably be over 50 by next week, but who knows? Another guy that's getting a lot of starts, and, catchers take a lot of time off. This guy plays almost every game, is Sean Murphy of the Oakland A's. And you're saying, why do you like Sean Murphy so much? Well, he's hitting .282 and 3 home runs in the past 2 weeks. .282 for a catcher with 3 home runs, that's really, really good, Casey Scheinfeld. So
it is.
I like Sean Murphy. He's probably more of a streaker to me because the catcher position, it's a streaker position right now. There's not many catchers that are just consistent enough. Not even the top draft guys are doing that great this year.
No, I know.
So you got to go out and really, you got to be a manager this year at the catcher position. You got to play who's hot and who's not and pick up those guys because it's going to mean a lot especially during playoff time when you're in the championship or in the playoff time in your league. So it's important that you get a catcher that can hit.
That's right. And I agree with you about Alfaro. Actually, Bob just quoted, and he took my second pickup of the week at catcher, and that's MJ Melendez in Kansas City. He's not hitting for great average.
He's not.
But he's putting up the power numbers, and he's driving in runs. And look, the average MLB player now I think the average is in the 240s at this point as the overall kind of average. And so he doesn't hurt you that much. But and so I agree, and given his pedigree, that he's a good choice too, because he plays a lot. And the other guy I want to mention is, and I've said him before, is Gabrielle Moreno in Toronto. He just got called up a few weeks ago, and he's batting almost 300. He only has one home run, I think.
Yeah.
But
I saw you picked him up in our league, and he's helping you tremendously, Casey.
Yeah, he's helped me a lot. And so when I was looking at the prospects, unfortunately, with Rutschman and Moreno, the two best catching prospects being called up already, finding one that's in the minors was a little bit difficult. There is Francisco Alvarez, who plays for the New York Mets. He's at AA and he's crushing. He's batting over 340. He's got good pop, good patience. He's not striking out too much, but there's not much chance of him getting promoted this year. And so I had to look a little deeper, and I'm not recommending this guy, but I wanted to say I found a catcher, and that's Luis Camposano is for San Diego. He's doing okay. He was up already this year and struggled a lot, so they sent him back down, but they expect him to be up again. It's somebody you can monitor if you need catching help. Certainly if Alfaro or Austin Nola gets hurt, it's going to be the first call they make. So I wouldn't put him as a pickup. I'd put him as somebody to put on your watch list and see what happens with him. Give me a first baseman you really like this week.
We talked about him earlier. This whole year I've been saying Christian Walker. He's in the past 2 weeks, he has four home runs, 9 RBIs. He's a power hitter. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the size of this guy. He's huge. I mean, this guy, he looks like a linebacker. Huge guy. I like him a lot in Arizona. You don't hear any press about him, but if you need a first baseman, you probably don't. But if you need a utility guy and he's available, pick him up because he can hit. And also Nathaniel Lowe for Texas. All he does is hit over 300 the past 2 weeks. He has power. And I told you, when it gets hot in Texas, that ball flies out of there. So if you need 2 first basemen that can hit, I just gave you 2 of them. There you go.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those 2 also. Nathaniel Lowe was my number 1 first baseman pickup. Christopher Atwater, welcome to the show. Thanks for chiming in. You mentioned Christian Vazquez as a catcher option. That's absolutely a great pickup. I didn't have him on my list because I thought he was over 60%. He's at 58%. Way to sneak him under the wire. I got to give you props for that one. I'm going to go with also Jesus Aguilar in Miami. The guy it feels like he's been around forever. He was with Milwaukee doing great, but he's playing well again. I mean, right now in the last 2 weeks, he's batting almost 300. He's got 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. Miami plays an exciting brand of baseball, and Jesus Aguilar is always in the middle of it. So that's somebody you can pick up there at first base. My prospect to pick up is going to be the same one I said last week. That's Vinnie Pasquentino. The guy's batting in AAA in Kansas City. There's no reason, by the way, that he shouldn't be playing first base right now for the Kansas City Royals. He's batting .280. He's got 17 home runs and 65 RBIs already. Like, he has nothing left to prove in the minors. There's no reason he shouldn't be up. I would have him on my roster if I could. Somebody in our league already owns him. I just think he's one of the best prospect pickups to stash right now that there is. So that would be my first base prospect.
Love it. And I think the reason they're not picking Vinny up is because Kansas City doesn't want to lose that one more year of the contract. So when you bring a player up who plays in the major leagues, he can file for free agency a year earlier. So
I think they're also paying Carlos.
Money, Casey Scheinfeld.
They're paying Carlos. I think they're paying Carlos Santana a lot of money, and so they don't want to just
trade him. If they can trade him, Vinny will play.
Right.
We'll see what happens there, but I agree with you. I think he's a stud.
Because Christopher Atwater is a big Boston fan here, I'm going to mention Tristan Cassis, but he should have been up. But his ankle, from what I read last week, his ankle is still so bad that he's on a zero gravity treadmill. He can't put any weight on it. So, unfortunately, the injury bug is preventing him from
a zero gravity treadmill. Isn't that like I've seen this, a treadmill in your pool, right?
Yeah, I think it's underwater. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it. I'm not making this up. That, you know, if you go in the pool and you have like a sore leg or sore something with dealing with your legs, they put you in the pool to rehab.
Yeah, because it doesn't do any damage to the joints. All right, second base. Anybody you got second base?
My top 4 guys: Isaac Paredes, 3 home runs on Tuesday, 1 home run on Wednesday. What else can he do for an encore? For the year, he has 9 home runs. This guy, when he came up, he's supposed to be the second coming. It didn't happen. They traded for him. They got him. They're letting this guy play. I mean, this guy, he's like a little pipsqueak. He's not that big of a guy, but he has power, Casey Scheinfeld, and he can run. He can run.
Yes, he can.
That all being said, power, running, and he's like this little guy that can lead off. I love this kid. He's available 97% of the leagues. You should pick him up. He's definitely the future. Pick him up now. Thank me later. Go ahead and get him. And another guy that you said last week, and I liked him, is Orlando Arcia of the Atlanta Braves. He's hitting the past 2 weeks, 379, which isn't too bad, Case, with 2 home runs.
No, Atlanta's that's not bad at all.
They're putting a lot of runs on the board, Atlanta. I mean, their offense is clicking. And it's just not their studs that they're doing it. It's a lot of these role players like Arcia, a lot of these guys. I mean, they're shortstop Swenson or Danny. What have you said? I forgot it. What's
Dansby Swanson.
Dansby Swanson. I mean, this guy's probably the hottest hitter in baseball. I mean, he had 2 home runs today. So, I mean, Atlanta's on a tear. Try to get a Brave right now on your team because they're scoring a lot of runs. But those are my 2 hot prospects right now.
All right. I like it. Okay. For me, second base. Again, a lot of these guys play multiple positions, so it's hard, but I'm going to name some that qualify at second base. I like Ezekiel Duran in Texas, plays second, short, and third, so he qualifies all across the infield. He's only been batting .250 in the past couple of weeks, but he's got a couple steals. He's got a home run. He's playing a lot, 40 at-bats, so they're not holding him back. And the other guy who I don't understand how he's less than 60% owned is Nolan Gorman. Somebody, if you paid attention at the beginning of the season, Dr. Dan was all over him. And he's just come up and been really effective in that lineup. And he's playing really well. And for some reason, he's still only 56% owned. Not a great average the past couple of weeks, but still hitting 2 to 3 home runs a week, driving in runs. Qualifies at second and third. He's never going to play third base because Nolan Arenado is there. But he has the qualification this year, so ride it and enjoy it. As far as my second base in the minors, I mentioned him last week. I think he's going to come up eventually, but I think he's going to play the outfield. But he has second base eligibility in the minors, and that's Esteury Ruiz in San Antonio in the San Diego Padres system. It's crazy. This guy has a 344 average with 9 homers and 46 stolen bases in 58 games at AA. Like, that's the kind of speed that's like back in the day, Otis Nixon, Ricky Henderson type of numbers. And
that's to get Dan Ratner's numbers. I mean,
that was Dan Ratner back in our softball league in graduate school. I know. With all due respect to Trent Grisham, who's an excellent baseball player, he's not producing right now. There is no reason why he should be in your starting lineup every day. And this guy who is just tearing the cover off the ball and running around like 2 to 3 stolen bases a game when they know he's going to steal, he should be up. So that's my second baseman.
Let me answer that question. So I think he'll be up in September. I think they're going to give the guy a year in the minors to get some everyday playing. Because they're paying these guys big money in San Diego to play in their team. They're going to bring up some rookie and have the other guys sit. They're not doing that, Casey Scheinfeld.
I know.
So when you say these young guys should be up playing, they will get their day. They will, if they're playing this well, they'll be moved up in September, and next year they'll get their calling card to play every day in the Major League Baseball. That's how it's going to work.
Christopher Atwater pointed out that he dropped Dansby Swanson early in the year as one of his regrets. I hate to tell you this, Chris, but so did I. So I'm in the same boat as you are.
Dansby Swanson, I mean, he's the hottest hitter in the National League right now.
I know. I dropped him in mid-April, late April, early May. So I'm in the same boat as you. All right, third baseman. Who do you got?
So me too. I had Nolan at third base because he qualified there. And then Bobby Delback of the Red Sox. Every year I always say, okay, this is going to be his big breakout year. And he doesn't do it. So this year, for the past 2 weeks, he's hitting 281 with 2 home runs. I have a feeling he's going to start hitting. I don't know why, but Delback to me is going to be a guy that's going to be hot in the summer, and you're going to start hearing his name more. So you heard it from me first, Ross the Boss. I just have a feeling. I don't know why. And then Juan Yapes of St. Louis, he qualifies at third base. For the past 2 weeks, he's hitting 357 with 2 home runs. He's a streaker, so if you need a guy that's going to have some power and have some average for you, pick him up now, but I don't know how long it's going to last. But St. Louis, we talk about this. They always find a way to get these young players, and they always deliver like immediately. There's no process where they have to develop. There's no developing in St. Louis. If you're not developing, they'll put you back in the minors. So you better start playing. But they find these young studs, and it's their minor league system is unbelievable. It's like Toronto's. It's great.
They just pull them out of anywhere, and they tend to be good.
Third base for me this week was the weakest position. I don't know why, but there's really nobody great I'm jumping up and down about. But I'm sorry. I'm curious to see what you have to say, Case.
No, I fully agree. I had Juan Yapes there. I had obviously Nolan Gorman and Ezekiel Duran both qualify there. Those were the only ones I really had that qualified at third base, who I think are worth a pickup. In the minors, I'm going to go back to the guy I said last week. Again, it is Miguel Vargas in the Dodgers organization. The guy's a power speed third baseman who plays decent defense.
Vargas. I know Vargas very well. I follow his. I live in LA, so I know the whole minor system for the Dodgers. And I'm not even a Dodger fan, but Vargas is somebody that next year, Justin Turner, I don't know if he'll be on the team next year. I think Vargas will be playing third base.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're looking at Mookie Betts is hurt.
Yep.
Max Muncy is almost always hurt.
Home run today, but keep going. Yep.
And streaky. Justin Turner is getting up there in years. You got Gavin Lux, who's not really producing the way they hoped he would.
A lot of hype, no results. Keep going.
Right. So there are a lot of players on the roster that you could make room for Miguel Vargas and see what he can do. And so I would hang on to him or pick him up. He's not one I would just watch. I actually rostered him in one of our keeper leagues in hopes he gets the chance, because, to get a power speed guy at such a thin position, that is not bad at all. And I would take that chance.
Is probably the most valuable player in fantasy baseball right now, but keep going.
Fair enough. Okay. Outfield. Who do you got?
Shortstop, real quick. Shortstop.
Oh, shortstop. I didn't have a lot of shortstops.
Luis Garcia of Washington, hitting 327 with 1 home run in the past 2 weeks. And I also like your guy, the cover boy, Rosario. You talked about him already. So those two, but shortstop's kind of thin too. But if you can get Rosario, that'd be great. And if you need average and some speed, Garcia's good at Washington. Those are the 2 hot pickups I like.
Yeah, I don't have anybody really else. I mean, if you think Gavin Lux is going to rebound and start to produce, you can take a flyer on him. Looking in the minors, I mean, O'Neal Cruz came up last week.
Oh yeah, let's talk about O'Neal Cruz. So
he's a unicorn. Like he's so much fun to watch.
I was not familiar with O'Neal Cruz. And when I wanted to pick him up, I noticed he's like 75% already owned in leagues. So I couldn't even pick him up I picked him up in 1 out of 6 leagues. I picked him up. So 6'7" for a shortstop, which is like, I thought Derek Jeter was tall. Derek Jeter was 6'3". I mean, this guy's 6'7", and his first game when he played, he threw the ball 96 miles an hour to first base, which like is the record. I mean,
it was like 96.7. Like it was even higher than it was crazy.
And this is his first week playing. I mean, so again, if you can pick up this guy, I feel this guy has a long, long time. He'll be in the Major League Baseball. Dynasty players, keeper players, try to trade for him, try to get him, whatever you can do, pick this guy up. This guy's the real deal.
Yeah, I love watching him. He's fun. If you listen to his interview, he was funny in that too. Yeah. I think he understands the game. And the marketing of the game. I don't think he's a shortstop long term. I don't think at 6'7", as you age, you can stay at shortstop. But who the heck knows, right?
I'll tell you one thing. You know those players that do those hits over the shortstop's heads, those line drives?
Yeah, they're not going to get over his head, right?
I mean, I play softball with a guy who's 6'7", and you have to adjust your game when you play against him because you can't get the ball over his head. I mean, this guy is in his 30s. He was a professional tennis player, and he can jump. And it's the same thing with O'Neal Cruz. He's a professional athlete. He can jump too. So you gotta adjust your game a little bit. But I hope he keeps playing shortstop. I love watching.
Yeah, I hope he stays healthy and keeps having fun. Yeah. Christopher Atwater wants to know, just so you know, we're going to do a little game about keep him, cut him, or trade him. But he wants to know, do you hang on to Nelson Cruz or let him go?
I like Nelson Cruz. He's a streaky hitter. A few weeks ago, he was on a hot streak. I don't know who you can drop and pick up, but if you can hold on to him, I would hold on to him. I think he's a professional hitter. I think he gets hot at times, but I would hold on to him, yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I do worry. I mean, he's 42 years old now or something like that.
I mean, Julio Franco played till he was 100. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but did he? I'm not remembering him contributing a lot when he was traded to the Rays last year after the trade deadline. I'm not saying cut him at all. That's not what I'm saying. I don't like that he only plays utility, that he doesn't give you any versatility there. But you got to give a guy like Nelson Cruz a chance to figure it out. And Just Bob made a good point. He's probably going to be traded to a contender here in the next month. And if he goes to a contender in a hitter's park and with a deep lineup, he could be a real weapon. So if you have room to keep him, keep him.
Agreed.
Okay. So that was, we talked about, I didn't find any shortstop minor leaguers who are close. So I didn't give any in this position.
Let's go to outfield.
So let's go to outfield.
So Jarren Duran of Boston, I like a lot. He plays for the Red Sox. I despise the Red Sox, but that doesn't matter. Duran he's kind of like,
Chris, we love you though, even though he hates the Red Sox.
But first of all, Duran has power and he steals bases. So those combinations alone are very rare in baseball right now.
Yeah.
This guy does both. I mean, he was like a 20-20 guy in minor leagues. They finally brought him up in Boston because of all the injuries. He's been leading off here and there. He's going to start playing a lot, hopefully. I hope they give this kid a chance, but I like this kid a lot. I mentioned this kid earlier. He plays for Tampa Bay, Joshua Lowe.
Josh Lowe, yep.
Josh Lowe. He's another guy who's a power guy and steals bases. Margot is hurt. His knee's messed up. He's out for at least 2 weeks. Lowe was a guy that I mentioned before that they wanted to start. They gave him this opportunity. He failed, and they put him back in the minors. He's back, baby, and he's ready to hit. So if you want a good power hitter that can steal bases, Josh Lowe could be your guy. And then the guy I want to mention, he was a former MVP, and he plays for the Milwaukee Brewers. His name is Andrew McCutchen.
He's heating up.
No, he's under 60%. I agree with you, Casey Scheinfeld. He's under, and you can look that up.
I know. I said he's heating up.
Oh, he's heating up. I thought you said is he? Okay, I thought you said
No, he's at 12% roster.
Yeah, 12%. So in the last 7 games, Casey Scheinfeld, he's hitting 350. Yeah, 350 in the past 7 games, and he's been just ripping the cover off the ball. And I feel that if he's healthy, I think this can be a great comeback year. He could be comeback player of the year. This guy. Yeah. So, Andrew, so those are the outfielders I like, and I feel you can't go wrong with any of the picks I just gave you.
No, you can't. Those were some good picks. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, AJ Pollock, when he's healthy, he produces. I mentioned Alec Thomas, the young player in Arizona, who is just a talented power speed guy. Just Bob mentioned Riley Green. I agree. Riley Green came up.
Riley Green is over 60%.
No, he's at 60 on the dot. So Just Bob played the game perfectly.
Fine.
Okay. Just Bob just keeps taking all mine. Alex Kiriloff is another one who just got called up. He had like 12 home runs in less than 20 games when he was in the minors on his rehab assignment. He's going to get a lot of opportunities in Minnesota. I also like McCutchen. I listed him on there. I'm going to name a Baltimore Oriole since we're talking about him. What about Anthony Santander? He's got 4 home runs in the last 2 weeks, batting .333. He seems to get big hits at a good time. So he's another outfielder I like. And the minor leaguer I'm going to name is also an Arizona Diamondback. His name is Corbin Carroll. He might not get the call up till later this year, but his numbers so far in Double A are ridiculous. A .318 average, a 1.05 OPS. He's got, 16 home runs and 20 stolen bases already this year. Like, he's on pace to be a 40-40 guy in the minors. There is, if you're in a dynasty league, he's got to be a top target if he's available. If you're in a keeper league and you have room on your roster or an NA spot on your roster, he's a guy who I would target and put on that too, because I just think he is one of those all-around studs that can really, really change a roster. So did we miss any other hitters before we move to pitchers, Ross?
No, I think we're good. We mentioned a lot.
We've given a lot of them.
If you can pick up a couple of the guys we mentioned, I think you guys are doing well.
All right. Who are your top 2 starters?
So Tyler Wells, I mentioned him as one of my top 4 pickups. This guy in the past 2 weeks, he's 3-0, ERA 2.22. I mean, he's been unhittable. I mean, he's been like pitching like 6-7 innings a game. The whole season he's been pitching well. He's one of these young guns that Baltimore has that they're betting the future on. He's available probably in your league. No one knows who he is because he plays in Baltimore. Pick him up. I'd rather start him than half the guys on your roster right now. Baltimore is not a bad team. They have more wins right now than they had, I think, like last year. I mean, they have over 30 wins right now, which is unbelievable. Another guy I like not because I like his first name, because he does have a great first name, but he's actually pitching great for Toronto, is Ross Stripling. Ross Stripling. And he's a journeyman. He's been bounced around, but his ERA for the year is 3.08. He has 4 wins. He's been pitching great the past, 43 strikeouts, 52 innings. He's been pitching really well this season. And in Toronto, as I told you, they like when their pitchers pitch 6-7 innings a game. They're not afraid of letting their pitchers go long compared to some other teams. I won't mention Tampa Bay. But that all being said, pick Ross. He's part of the Ross family. Let's get him right now.
Hey, he's pitching like the boss, too.
Really quick, I know you said 2, but Tawan Walker of the Mets, pitching great this year. Pick him up if he's available.
Yep, he was one of my top 2 also. He's been inconsistent, hasn't always been striking people out, but the last couple weeks, Taijuan Walker has 12 2/3 inning, 19 strikeouts, under a 2 ERA, under a 1 WHIP. He's been pitching great. He pitches for the Mets. It's a good team to pitch for. So, and then John Gray, who I talked about at the top of the show, I think he's the top pitching pickup right now. I had him on my list too. As far as, and I'm going to go, Chris, this is for you. My top minor league pitcher pickup, Mr. Atwater, is Brian Bello. of Boston. He's in their farm system right now. He just pitched 7 shutout innings, I think yesterday or the day before, for AAA. He's moved through 3 systems already, I think. I think he started at high A. He already went through AA, and now they have him at AAA. He started outside the top 100 in terms of the prospect rankings. They've moved him up all the way up to 77 right now. In this year with 2 teams, he's got 8 wins, 4 losses, a 2.43 ERA. In 13 starts, he's got 74 innings pitched, 99 strikeouts. His whip is a 1.0. His ERA is a 2.43. There is no reason that Boston, who's called up a couple other pitching prospects already recently, won't use him if he keeps delivering the way he is. He would be my top pitching prospect to pick up. So one of Christopher Atwater's questions is, why is George Kirby still available in so many leagues?
Inconsistency. He looks great one game and then horrible the next.
Yeah.
He plays in a small market team in Seattle, and he gets no respect playing there. So until he proves he can be consistent enough to be in fantasy baseball as a regular guy, he'll be one of these guys that you pick up the night before to start, because people have no faith in Kirby right now. So
right, he's one of those ones.
It hurts, right? It hurts, Chris, doesn't it, to hear the truth? But I'm the truth slayer, so I will tell you how it is. Yeah,
I agree with you. He's had just as many good starts as bad starts. His overall numbers aren't terrible, a 3.12 ERA and a 1.12 whip. When you look at it that way, you'd think it's solid, but you can't predict when the big game is going to go. And the other issue is he's not an elite strikeout pitcher. He has less than a strikeout per inning, which if you're going to deal with some of the variability, like a Hunter Green take, for example, where you're going to get a good start and a bad start.
Green got shelled today. I mean,
I didn't see that. Practice. So maybe that's a bad example, but he's a guy who has the potential to strike the world out. Yeah. And so if you're going to take a chance on somebody who's inconsistent, you want it to be the lottery ticket type. That would be my, Christopher Atwater wants you to know he can handle the truth. He was very Tom Cruise when he said that. I hear he looks like Tom Cruise. I haven't seen him.
A few good men. He's quoting that.
I was at Dan's wedding, but I don't remember seeing Christopher Atwater there. I hear he was there.
Atwater was at my wedding. He got really drunk. We had to carry him out. Each guy grabbed an arm, a leg, and we carried him out. And we put him outside because he was just causing havoc the whole time.
Yeah, I get it. All right, we have a couple minutes left. Who are your cut, keep, or trade guys?
Really quick with you pitchers: Tanner Scott, 4 saves in 2 weeks. Miami Marlins. Keegan Thompson. I know he starts too, but he's also a reliever. Pick him up. ERA at 3, 7 wins for the year. Doing great. Either guy pick up. Mike, okay, ready? So here we go. Cut, trade, or keep. Tyler Ward, the past month, I'm saying. He's hitting .212 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. He started out really hot. Now he's not. What do you do with him, Case?
I cut him. I mean, because the guy came out of nowhere to do what he was doing, Taylor Ward, and his numbers on the season still look good. So I don't want him on my roster, but maybe I try to trade him, because if somebody doesn't look at the last 30 days, they'll see a guy who's hitting over 300 with 11 home runs, 38 runs scored. They might be willing to pay something for him, but I don't want him on my roster.
He's cut. Cody Bellinger, the past month, he's hitting 181, 3 home runs and 9 RBIs. That was the past month. I know he won the MVP a couple years ago, but he's no MVP this year. Cut him, keep him, or trade him.
I would cut him. I don't think he has any value in the trade market. He's batting .203 on the year. You might say he's batting 181 in the last month, but that's not much better than he's batted in any month. If his season average is .203, he only has 8 home runs. He's a power guy. He's not producing. No, he's gone.
Okay, just remember, this is totally for this is, well, let's say it's for keeper leagues too. Now we'll put keeper league, not dynasty, keeper league. You can keep the 6. Juan Soto, again, you're saying I know he's very elite. A lot of people picked him first. The past month, he's hitting 161 with 6 home runs. Do you keep him, which a lot of people will say yes? Do you trade him, which is trade value could be a little low because of what's happening? I know you're not going to cut him, but what would you do? Trade him or cut him? What would you do? Go.
I would trade for him.
Oh, you would? That's see the smartness you have? So when a player's low and people are not happy with them, that's when you go after him, which is smart.
Right.
So you just learned something right there, folks.
Every day's a school day.
Giancarlo Stanton plays for the Yankees. Some idiot in our league has him right now. He started off hot, got hurt, came back, can't hit. 118 the past month with 3 home runs. 118, Casey Scheinfeld. Keep him, trade him, or cut him.
You know, I've been obviously as a Yankee fan, I've seen a lot of Giancarlo Stanton games. And I owned him when he was with the Marlins and hit 55 home runs in a year. So I remember he lost an MVP because he got hit in the face with a fastball. Like, I have an affection for this guy. I'm going to keep him because I've never seen a batter who can swing and miss on a pitch by like 4 feet on a slider outside of the zone and then hit 118 mile per hour home run like into the third deck. I believe too much in the talent and I like the guy too much. So I'm going to keep him. But it comes with the caveat that I'm a Yankee homer and a Stanton apologist.
Last one. He plays for your Arizona Diamondbacks. Dalton Varshall. He's hitting 195 for the past month. Two home runs, 8 RBIs. This guy, people love this guy in fantasy. I don't understand the connection with him. I would probably try to trade him first. If no one bid, I probably would cut him. I don't like this guy in fantasy baseball. He's not my cup of tea.
Well, Dalton Varshall's appeal is that he's a catcher who plays the outfield, but still gets catcher eligibility and can run. But he only has 4 stolen bases on the year, right. So he's not running that much. I would probably keep him just because of the potential and the thin nature of the catcher position. But I do that knowing that he's going to sit at the bottom of my bench for a long time.
Understood. I mean, there's so many great catchers that we talked about today that I think I'd rather start Christian Betancourt than Varshall right now.
Sure.
That's me. I just feel that this guy has people with so much hype, so much stuff on him. And then you draft him and you think, okay, I have a catcher that's going to do great. He's not doing great. He's hurting your team more than helping right now. You got to go out and get a catcher and bench Varshall because he can't produce. And whose fault's that? It's your fault, Casey Scheinfeld, because you can't get a catcher that can hit.
And I'm going to hang on to him and die on that hill, I guess. Well, guys, Ross, awesome job today. Thank you again for all of the insights and the names. I hope those of you who are watching learned a little bit from this. If you like what you're seeing, please click like, subscribe to our channel, ring the bell for notifications to find out when every one of our shows is going to be on. Leave your comments below. We've probably said some things that you absolutely disagree with. Feel free to share that with us. We'd love to have that discussion with you. Mind you, we'll be back the same time next week. That is 4:45 Eastern, 1:45 Pacific. But more importantly, before we go, I think July 5th, right, Ross? Is that your first show?
July 5th. That's
with the Fantasy Hustler. We're going to start a fantasy football show. We're getting there.
I talked to this case about it. I'm excited for fantasy football. I know it's early. I know it's only June, but it's going to be such a great fantasy football season. And there's so many things we can educate you on. It's going to be great.
So stay tuned, click those notifications, and you'll find out exactly when it's going to air. Ross and the Hustler not only are about as knowledgeable in fantasy football as there is, but they are as entertaining as they are knowledgeable. So you'll enjoy the show. I certainly can't wait for it. And we will see you next week.
Kill Cliff Octane. New flavor. Laser Lemon. Plus 125 milligrams of clean caffeine. No sugar.
25 milligrams of CBD.
Meow available at Kill